Grunge Bible podcast. Let's get back to it, Ethan. This is episode number 97. How are you doing today?
I'm doing well, Chris. We are recording this on Saturday, 2 days before it comes out, the 28th.
Yeah, this is the latest we've done it, I think.
This is the latest, maybe the quickest turnaround that's going to have to happen here in the next 24 hours.
That's why we pay our producer the big bucks.
That's right. But, the main reason is because, Chris, you and I had a week. We both did.
Yeah, we just got our asses kicked for 7 days.
It was like this week, just like, they've been watching us for a while now, and they're like, all right, like we're gonna do this all at once, all right, everybody get ready, and they ambushed us. and as we like to say, they've always wanted to fuck us, and they finally did. They got us.
They finally got to us. I feel like they observed us, and they kind of by now they know where our weak spots are, and they just got us.
They got a POA going. They got a plan of attack, and they waited until we were vulnerable, and they attacked. Mm-hmm. So,
yeah.
But look at us. We're still here.
We're still here. We're unbreakable, and this is a good call that we waited until the weekend to record this. I feel relaxed and relatively excited to do this, which is good. I feel like the weight of the last week has kind of fallen off this morning, and feel good, ready to do this podcast. So.
And to be honest, trying to fit it in the week and kind of smush it in there
is really hard.
Yeah, sometimes it weighs on us just as much. So I think waiting till Saturday, this was a big move by us.
Yeah,
I think
that was a really good
off.
call, because at the end of the day, missing a week is not an option. Obviously, there are a lot of people that rely on us to have this podcast in their inbox every Monday morning, and we are happy to oblige them on a weekly basis. This is the 97th week that we've done that, and we're really excited about that. We're closing in, and I think we discussed this before, but 100 means more to you than 104 for the 2-year mark, or what do you think?
Yeah, I'd say so. I think
100 is better. 104 sucks. That's arbitrary.
Yeah, exactly. I like 100 better. That might as well be 2 years to me. So I think we're gonna say 100 is exactly what we need.
Yeah. Absolutely. 100% for 100. So this podcast episode, as always, is brought to you by everybody who chooses to support us, but most notably over on Patreon, we have a top level tier of supporters, and their $10 per month contribution helps keep this podcast rolling. If you would like to join, or you'd like more information about that, the link to Patreon is in the show notes. But I would like to thank our top tier, and that is comprised of What the Fuck's Up Denny's, Seattle 4 Fanboy from New Jersey, Shoe the Shoeless, Marianne, Millie, Nikki 6, Rachel Corning, Laura and Irene, Jamie Lynn, Carlene Salona, Chris LSMS, our number one fan from Australia, Jade Mercado, Fuck Soup, Granny Grunge, Fresh Tendonitis, Faith Bittner, Brother Nature, Kara K, Captain Hightop, Doug Endy, Eddie Vedder got me through my second divorce, Alexa Shannon, The Blue Owl, Christine Shepard, Alex Long, and Black Hole Sean. So thank you to all of you for your continued support. And Ethan, I have a little bit of positive information for you I think it sneaks up. It certainly sneaks up on you, but it snuck up on me a little bit this year. Are you ready for it?
I am.
This week, this podcast, like while this is the most recent episode, Grunge Bible enters the birthday zone.
Oh shit!
Yeah.
That's right.
We turned 7 years old on February 2nd. Back on February 2nd, 2016, Grunge Bible was born, and now, I mean, we're trucking along, and we have a 7-year-old now.
Right, I would say we're 7 years old, man. That's a really good age. That was one of my favorite ages.
It's like the age that like our kid is gonna start like Googling dirty words to see what they mean on the internet.
Is that like first grade?
I think it's like second grade, third grade, second grade.
Second grade?
Yeah, you could be 7 in second grade, I think.
Well, I guess, 18 when you graduate, 12 would be 6 if you graduate when you're 18, so.
Yeah.
So, yeah, second grade.
Yeah, we've got a second grader on our hands.
Holy shit, dude.
Learning multiplication in cursive.
That's when I met Drew, second grade, Mrs. Strogus.
No way.
Mrs. Strogus's class, yep. She was,
that's amazing.
She was old. She was an older lady, and an old school teacher. She was hard on the kids. She was hard on us. She wasn't the fun one that everybody.
Yeah.
She wasn't the one that everybody wanted, but
no.
She did in fact like us because we were good kids. So shout out to Miss Strogas.
I never doubt for a second that you and Drew are good kids.
Who was your second grade teacher's name?
My second grade teacher, her name was Mrs. McDonald. She was
classic,
a
dude.
legendary
Classic
educator.
Teacher name.
Yes, absolutely legendary educator at the school that I went to first through eighth grade at. She had been there for like 40 years. She was old. Her name was Polly McDonald. She was an incredible teacher. She had to have been. I mean, your perception of this when you're in second grade is not very good, but she had to have been like 70, 75. She was old, but she was really sweet. She was a hell of a teacher. I think we were her last class before she retired.
I think we were Mrs. Strogas'
Parallel
last class.
trains, dude. No way. Yeah.
I hope they're both, still kicking.
So it's funny. I just had this conversation with my mom actually about my second grade teacher like a couple of weeks ago.
No way.
Yeah, I was like, I don't think, and Ethan, I'm happy to report I did a Google search of the recent obituaries over the last several years of the Providence metro area, and I did not see her. So hopefully, hopefully she's still out there, but. Yeah, she was a great teacher. She was a Red Sox fan. She had season tickets to the Red Sox, and I used to always wear like my little Red Sox hat, and she used to talk to me about it. It was really sweet. But it's funny. I mean, you get good teachers at that age. That's a critical period, I think, to be to nurture your mind and nurture your spirit. And I'm happy I had a really good run of teachers. Pretty much all the way. So I was lucky for that.
This is great. I just want to pause for a second, and Drew, as they say, as Bill usually says, Bill Simmons, he says, turn the TikTok camera on. But this is a classic snapshot of Chris Salona right now. Not only did we bring up our second grade teachers, but he alluded to how he was just talking about them, and he went back and checked the obituaries for the last 6 years.
I had to do my research
to make sure that this teacher was alive. That is the most Chris Salona thing that I've heard in like the last week. That is amazing. He checked the obituaries.
Hey, I'm nothing if not consistent, right, Ethan?
Yeah, dude, that is a good one. I know Drew's going to find that funny. But it's it's
really
due
good.
diligence. That's really
that's
really
the thing.
awesome.
I mean, I can't come in here and come without my research. I mean, it's an integral part to any sort of preparation for an episode of the Grunge Bible podcast. So that applies to anything that we might be talking about. And this week
we had one last thing.
One more thing.
I had a Mr. McDonald, my ninth grade.
Did you?
Social studies, yeah, Mr. McDonald. I think his first name might have been Mac, too. I think it was Mac McDonald.
Oh, yeah, Mac McDonald.
So,
classic.
Anyway, I just wanted to say that. So back to what we're here for.
Yeah, so we're sitting at the threshold of what may be a new series here on the Grunge Bible podcast, something that we had the idea to do, and we think we will do moving forward periodically, just because it's a good exercise and it gets you to kind of think about the music and the bands in a different way. So today we're going to present 3 songs from Nirvana. So the concept behind this is that for Nirvana, it works out great because they have 3 studio albums. So Ethan and I, we picked one song from each of the albums, from Bleach, from Nevermind, and from In Utero. And we're going to talk about them in their own right. And we're going to talk about what it's like to listen to them back to back to back and kind of get that quick at a glance of what the band was throughout their years from 89 to 93 in the studio. And I'm excited to do this. And the 3 songs that we've chosen that we're going to talk about, from Bleach, we have the first track, which is Blue. So you figure you get that sense of, if you picked up Bleach, this is the first song that you would hear. And then on Nevermind, we decided to choose On a Plane. And from In Utero, we're going to talk about All Apologies. So we're going to go song by song of those 3, talk about, what we think about them, what they sound like, and place them in their time, and then talk about them all together. And I think this will be a good exercise. And for me, Ethan, it's no secret. I don't spend a lot of time listening to Nirvana. I never really have. It's not like Pearl Jam where I was heavy into them and then it ebbs and flows. But I've never gotten super deep into Nirvana. So this exercise is really cool, just to kind of get a little bit of a different perspective on a band that for some reason I've just never been able to make that connection like I have with a lot of the bands. But you do things like this and maybe you might be able to.
Yeah, I think that after listening and kind of also going through the exercise, in a similar sense, like I kind of ebb and flow with Nirvana, and I find the most connection when I watch them. When I watched Kurt play live and Dave on the drums and Chris, and I think that they're listening to them, in the car and whatnot, it is still really good. But I think that people love this band because of what they did in person. So I think that is something that we'll never, like when it was happening and the buzz around them performing. So I don't think I think that there's a lot of love for them because of that, and obviously we weren't around for that or any type of any of their touring. So I think that it makes more sense. It makes sense to me that maybe we're a little more disconnected because they are quite good live. Like that's kind of the thing that I kind of pulled away from this too when I I compared and contrasted two of these songs were on the MTV Unplugged set list, and then also they played Live and Loud, and two of them were also played there. So you got a really good, you can compare like the live acoustic, live, and then studio live and stuff. And so it was kind of cool to go through the album, hear the differences, and see which is your favorite and why you like it. So
absolutely. Yeah, I totally agree. And just kind of how these songs grew over the years too, with a lot of them, or at least two of them being, set staples for a long time. I mean, in the limited time that Nirvana was operating. But I say we just get right into it with Blue. So as I said, this was the first track on the first album. So if you place yourself back in '89, you pick up this cassette or whatever capacity you picked it up in, there's a good chance there were a lot of people that, if they picked up Bleach, this was the first thing that they heard. And I have to say, if I could describe Blue in one sentence, this sounds exactly like a song that you would expect from a record from Seattle in 1989.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
It's just, it doesn't sound like it doesn't sound anything like a Nevermind or an In Utero track. And I was listening to it and I kind of had the thought, I was like, this sounds more like Mudhoney than it sounds like Nirvana.
Yeah. Yeah, and overall, this album, Bleach, like I listened to it yesterday. I mean, it's just chaos. It's just chaotic.
It's complete chaos.
And it's chaotic in the best way, and it's wild, and it's just got this weird like dark ambiance to it. I guess that is it is what it is, and I agree. It's definitely like. It is really pretty grungy.
Exactly.
I hate to say it like that, but
it's a product of its place in time. It sounds like they didn't have a blank check to go into the studio and record this, and certainly they didn't. I mean, they had to scrounge to get the thing finished, and Jason Everman came into the band after the fact, after this was recorded, and he put money down to get this product done, and as a result, they put him on the album cover. But it sounds so different, and there's a lot of things in speaking of like the heaviness and the grunginess of it. I mean, we say it as a joke, but I mean, it's very true. I don't think anybody captures that sound better than Mudhoney, but this sounds like Nirvana doing their best, like Super Fuzz Big Muff impression, in the best way possible. And that heaviness that they get, I mean, with Blue right from the beginning, I mean, you have Novoselic on the bass and, that bass track at the beginning. I mean, and they go immediately into the fuzz pedal for Kurt's guitar, which later on, and we'll talk about All Apologies later, the guitar's really clean at the beginning, and then they open it up. But I mean, this one right from the jump is heavy, fuzzy, just sloppy, grungy mess. And
I love that
it
you
makes
brought
a lot
up the
of
bass
sense.
line too, because that was one of the things that I picked up. This is kind of a classic Nirvana trait, is like they had this Chris does a really good job with all the bass lines and kind of getting this melody, and there's always this melody that he plays behind like a really heavy drum track.
Well, and it's funny,
and then you have Kurt coming in and out
because you have Chad Channing on the drums with this track. Dave hadn't joined the band yet, but it sounds like they found their synergy right from the beginning. Even with the different people. And speaking of the heaviness of the track, at the time Nirvana had really liked to record in drop D. So I guess evidently they were in the studio and they were getting ready to play this one, and they went to go tune their guitars down to drop D, but they were already in drop D. So when they tuned down, they ended up in C. So that made it even heavier. And I think there were a couple other songs on the album that they did this for, but I mean, those strings are super loose, and you're just hitting them hard, and I think that definitely adds to a lot of it. Something else, the construction of this song, something that I had forgotten about, and it's probably just an element of Nirvana being the biggest blind spot that I have amongst like the big Seattle bands, but the guitar solo on this is unusually long for Kurt Cobain.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, I was referring to that. They played this at 90 in the Live and Loud in Seattle in 93, and Dave was playing with them. And yeah, they get to the guitar solo, and it kind of like, it just kind of bleeds into a little bit longer than you'd expect from Kurt. And it's great. I really like it. It's such a Kurt solo. It's awesome. Yeah, he was good. 100%. He was good. Can we say that? Do you think he's a good guitarist?
I think he was good. Yeah.
Is he a good?
And it's funny, like, and obviously that's like the running joke that a lot of people are like, oh, Kurt Cobain sucked at the guitar, but I mean, right from the jump, I mean, this is the first song of the first album, and it's so effective, and he does what he does really well. And I think I made this comparison before, but it's like Neil Young. I mean, Neil Young is not going to give you the most defined and precise solos or anything, but I mean, the man can write songs really, really well, and what he does well, he does incredibly well. And Kurt, I think he had a really intentional vision for what the guitars would sound like in his bands, and I think he had that vision right from the beginning, and the execution was just absolutely bang on. And another thing, thinking about Blue, I mean, it sounds like what I think grunge to be in the Mudhoney vein, but there's obviously a lot of punk influence in that. But furthermore, something that Nirvana had from the jump that a lot of the Nirvana purists or just fans that will run into on in the comment sections that I don't think they would admit. Kurt Cobain was a hell of a pop writer. Like, there are a lot of elements of just pop music in all of his songs, and I think as we progress throughout, I think especially with the second song that we'll talk about, we get that. But I mean, the chorus, is there another reason for your stain? I mean, it's like stop and go, and it's just a perfect chorus. I mean, Kurt Cobain, probably better than any of the songwriters from this era of the popular, the 4 or 5 bands. I mean, Kurt knew how to write a chorus.
I totally agree. This is one of the things that I was kind of like noticing and thinking about is, and especially when when you see him performing, like the way the melody kind of and the verses lead up into their choruses are always so, they're very poppy. Like I just feel like he understood like radio time and radio play
really
or something, or maybe he didn't like. Maybe he wasn't really thinking about that totally, but his brain was definitely wired for like good hooks and good, like, it just sucks you into the chorus, whatever that song you're listening to. It does it every time.
Yeah. It's for sure the type of writing and the presentation that just hangs in your head for a long time. And I think from the beginning he knew exactly the type of songs he had to write to get people's attention. And And it's funny, as we'll progress on into the Nevermind and the In Utero songs that we've chosen. But I mean, this one, it sounds so low budget and so underground. I'm sure if they had given this song the Nevermind treatment with the production, it would have been on the radio. Because it just has that factor that I think you need, and Kurt knew exactly how to do that. And it's always the thing that like Kurt didn't want to be famous. I think he was very intentional about wanting to be famous and wanting to be successful. And his songwriting was, it was perfect. It was perfect for the time. It was perfect for the main method of consumption at the time. People are going to hear your song on the radio and they're going to go and buy your record. In Bleach, for being a little known band, it sold pretty well for the time, and it certainly set themselves up, and I can see why, a Geffen Records would sign Nirvana after hearing Bleach.
Yeah. Yeah, this is a great title track. Or a great opening track for the band, and I think that maybe the best on the album. Maybe it's probably a little underrated because of all, like, an underrated song from the band's catalog altogether, just because of what we're going to get into with Nevermind. Because Nevermind was quite the complete album. Everybody knows this, but you look through the songs, and it's all the songs that you know from Nirvana. I mean,
Right,
and it's
exactly.
packaged. I mean, we talk. I mean, it's fucking Nevermind. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean,
it is what it
Butch
is.
Vig at the controls.
Yeah.
And it's funny, you know, and we'll get into On a Plane here. So that's the 11th track. And I mean, there's no skips. There's no songs that people don't recognize. Like, music fans know all of the songs off of Nevermind. And you know, you listen to On a Plane and you listen to Nevermind as a whole. And the first thought that I had, especially coming right off the heels of listening to Blue from the Bleach album, On a Plane sounds like it is supposed to be on the radio. Yeah. Blue didn't. Blue sound. It's like this dingy song that you hear blasting through your neighbor's wall, you know, because you have no insulation or soundproofing.
And they're practicing,
like, that's what it sounds like.
Opener band.
And like, I wrote the note for Blue. I wrote that it sounds like shit.
I love it. Yeah.
I mean, in the best way possible. And On a Plane, it sounds like a completely different band, in my opinion. It's just it was a really jarring experience to listen to these back to back, and just realize that it, you know, the structure and the intent of this song On a Plane, it's so there, and it's funny because everybody's like, oh, like Nirvana was this like punky, like sloppy band. I mean, by the time Nevermind, I mean they were shooting bullseyes with these. I mean, everybody was right on time. Everybody was right on cue. And I have to say, yeah.
I was just say when like picking the songs for this, so we shot back a few different ideas and whatnot, and it, you know, it's tough. You can't, you know, we don't want to talk about Smells Like Teen Spirit. It's already been done. You know, In Bloom or, you know, Lithium, the other songs on this album. Like, we tried to pick a different one, and this one is. It is really good. Like, I mean, when people talk about maybe the better songs on the album, like, you know, it's not going to come up in probably the first 5. But in reality, like, this song could be, like, yeah, like you said, it is definitely on the radio. It could be it could be a single. It is really good. They played it. I think they played it at the 91 in Paramount, or at the Paramount, and it was on the MTV Unplugged, and those performances are just, I mean, their live performances are all of these songs are really legendary. But I don't know, the MTV Unplugged is obviously really special, and man, each, what did I write down? I said I think this just solidifies, like I said, this solidifies them as like a live. They're like a live performance band for me. I need to consume them. You know, with these long form, you know, concerts in a way.
Totally. Yeah, and I mean, and they played these songs a lot. They played On a Plane a lot, and as we'll get in All Apologies, I mean, they played these songs frequently live. But speaking of On a Plane, you know, Channing was seemingly, he was the perfect drummer, I think, for the sound that you ended up getting on Bleach. But then when you move to On a Plane, I mean, Dave instantly brings this different level of heaviness, but it's such precise heaviness, and you know, and he contributes backing vocals to this song as well, and it really kind of sounds like, you know, the band already by this time they were an institution, they were a unit, and like they had. I guess what I was trying to say with the live band part is there were three, like, you know, you had 3 people in this band, and everybody played an extreme part. And when you watch them, you see the way they interact. You see Chris, the way that he jumps around and plays. You see Dave on the drums, like holding it down, and you see Kurt, and just I think it's so important that they're, you know, and then obviously you have Pat Smear coming in and playing, and a few other people, but like when you see the 3 of them, and like you said, the unit that they had at this time was what made them like pop. I mean, it really is. Like, I mean, it's 3 pieces coming together to make this beautiful whole. And that's when you get bands that really like go above the rest and stick out, is when everybody's moving in synergy. Yeah, I totally agree. But yeah, with On a Plane and with a lot of Nirvana's work, the lyrics are kind of hard to get a read on, and I think
Yeah.
you know Kurt was fairly outspoken at different points that a lot of his lyrics weren't meant to be read completely literally, and sometimes it was just filler or just random words that were popping into his head. I mean, in this song, there's a point where he says, "What the hell am I trying to say?" You know, but just to cherry pick a lyric that I really always have appreciated from On a Plane was, you know, the finest day that I ever had was when I learned to cry on command. And yeah, he just had this very distinct way of writing lyrics that I think all of these musicians in this era, you know, you could kind of, they all wrote in their same way, you know, in their own unique way. And Kurt, something else that I'm thinking about with all of these songs, towards the end of his career and the end of his life, Kurt was just always concerned and always talking about the fact that he had nothing else left to write and he was completely out of material. I mean, for a guy who was like always seemingly on the brink of having no material, he had a shit ton of really good material.
That's so funny. That's true.
It's so strange, and like we'll get into
He did
it
talk
with In
about that a
Utero,
lot.
because like once In Utero came out, I mean they did a lot of press for In Utero. He did a lot of interviews, and he's like, yeah, I'm completely out of material. I have no idea what the band's gonna do, because like I have nothing else left to write. And you know, it's interesting. I think a lot of times people are their own worst critics, and I'm sure he had a lot of things that maybe, you know, nobody even really knows about that he probably just scrapped because he thought it was shit. But I mean, from the inception, from 1989 all the way through, I mean, he knew how to write songs. And once again, this song On a Plane, you talk about the chorus. I mean, this thing is made to get stuck in your head, like a lot of Nirvana songs were.
Yeah, he just another great hooks for like this song has such a good hook that brings you in, and yeah, he really did have a knack for writing. There's no surprise there, I guess.
Yeah, and it's funny, and once you get into it, it really puts to bed the whole trope that like, oh, Nirvana, they're just loud and they're just screaming at you and they're sloppy. Like, no, like this is well done. I mean, everything. I think the radio at the time, I mean, it was so saturated and there were so many good places to turn that, you know, it was more than just trendy to listen to Nirvana. I mean, there's a reason other than the trendiness of Nevermind that people were going to this record. And I mean, here we are 31 years later, 32 years later after Nevermind, and it's still, you know, it's still capturing people's imaginations. And a lot of that, I think, just has to do with the way that he wrote the songs.
Yeah, I agree. I think that it was very clever. Like, I think the lyrics are clever in a lot of times. You know, they may not be. They may not
Kurt
mean
was
a lot.
really clever and neurotic in a way, and he had this
Yeah.
like dry presentation with a lot of his words and with a lot of his interviews too. Whether it was
He left it up for
intentional or whether
interpretation all the time.
exactly, and he definitely like. It had to have been a conscious choice to kind of be contradictory at times just to fuck with people. I mean,
Yeah.
Kurt was really good. Kurt was really good at that, but he was really clever. He really was.
Yeah, and that's one thing I wrote about the lyrics. It's like you're trying to figure it out, and although it's really hard, and he never gives much direction into what they mean, and because he says they don't mean anything.
Yeah.
And so people have the ability to kind of take them and do what they wish with them. And I think we've talked about this before. I'm not sure on the pod, but like, you know, that's the nice part about the lyrics. Oh yeah, we definitely have, because Lane talks about like whatever that means to you in that moment is what it means. And I think that you can do that with the Nirvana songs, and you maybe have a little more freedom in a lot of ways because of, you know, there isn't like a guideline per se.
Exactly. It's really funny too, because Kurt wasn't exactly writing op-eds on what his lyrics meant. So like you'll go on the internet and you'll read. And you know, earlier I was looking up Blue, the first song that we discussed today, and I was reading the lyrics, and at the end, you know, he just repeats "You can do anything, you can do anything" over and over and over again until the song ends. And I read somewhere online, people were like, "Oh, like the fact that this lyric comes at the end of the song means that he doesn't really mean it, and that it's too late, and that you can't actually do anything because time's up." And it's just like, it's really funny. You know, I have nothing against people, you know, deciding what something means for them, but with Kurt, I think out of all these songwriters, there's no way to definitively be like, this is what he was trying to say through this song. And I think especially earlier on in his career, on Bleach and on Nevermind, except for the ones that he explicitly spoke about, it's hard to tell what the hell this dude is trying to say, but it's good because it doesn't matter, because like we said, it can mean something to everybody individually. And I think only later on, and I think as we moved to In Utero, I think there was more of a pointed effort, and seemingly Kurt's life grew more tumultuous as the time went on. And it's funny because, with all apologies as we get into it, this sounds like it was written in 93, but it actually wasn't. Kurt had this one kicking around since as early as 1990, but listening to this one, I'm so glad that they waited. I'm so glad that this didn't appear on Nevermind, and they played it, all throughout 92 and 93, obviously, but this song makes sense on In Utero. I'm glad that it got the In Utero song treatment, the Steve Albini treatment, and this song for me, this is one of the Nirvana songs that I've spent the most time with, and In Utero is my favorite Nirvana album. And this song just kind of makes me think about Kurt and mortality, and the fact that Kurt's life was so short. I don't know what it is about that opening guitar riff. It's just, it's clean, and it just kind of evokes that emotion for me. But this is for sure one of my favorites. But what was, what is your kind of gut reaction to this song, or what does the song make you think about?
Yeah, this was really good. It kind of, I always kind of go, in the sun I feel as one. I kind of always come back to that lyric and hear that and think about, what the sun does, I guess, for people. Like, it sounds weird to kind of go right to this, but like, I don't know. I feel like, because the band's name, Nirvana, and that feeling of Nirvana, and what you can kind of, and it's different for everybody. And this morning I actually went out and I was doing a little prep, and it was like 7:30 and the sun was just coming out.
Yeah.
And I had just looked at this lyric, and the sun I feel is one, and I was standing out like, it's cold, but the sun is out. And I don't know, it was a really interesting experience. I feel like I was having a Nirvana moment, getting ready for that. I texted you. I said I'm in the Nirvana zone.
Yeah.
And this whole song, All Apologies, it sounds, how easy it is to not live up to expectations in a way. And this is just I guess my interpretation of it, and how it's always always apologizing for certain things. I think the first four.
What else should I be?
8 lines, are kind of like that, and it's a struggle that you get going through, where it's it feels like all I'm doing is apologizing for certain things, and there's really no reason to do that, because you're just putting all this weight on yourself, and and then like I said, when you find your Nirvana, or you find your sun, something to give you light, you can you feel better, you feel like a kind of fulfilled in a way. And I think it's a good song to kind of, it can be hard to get there, I guess, but I like to think of it like that, to take the pressures off yourself and be able to find your Nirvana.
Yeah,
and this is the last song on the album too, which is kind of cool. That I don't know, we started with Blue, but then this is the final one that of their studio albums. So.
Yeah, and I totally agree with the thought that this song brings about feelings of fatigue, and just kind of all of the energy that somebody puts forward to kind of fit in, or to try to be what other people expect them to be. And I'd really love more insight, whether if the lyrics that exist on the In Utero track were the ones that Kurt had come up with in 1990, when he initially started kind of writing on this song. But one of the lyric that always sticks out to me, well, there's 2 of them, but the first one is what else could I write? I don't have the right. And I think that just feels so exasperated to me, because Kurt was always looked at as the spokesperson for this alienated Generation X that was angry with the world and everything. And when I hear that lyric, it's I don't have the right to write, to be this spokesperson. It's not up to me. It's not my job, and it's not what I'm here to do. And also I think it kind of it's a good, call back to the fact that, what else could I write? He's running out of material. He's like, everything I have is shit. I'm not going to be able to make the fourth Nirvana record. We're all out. And then the other one for me, that's one of my favorites was, I wish I was like you, easily amused. And I know, we've talked about that one a lot, kind of, I don't know, like sometimes like what does it for everybody else doesn't do it for you. And that can be an empty feeling. It can be a tiring feeling. And I think,
I thought you were going to bring up that lyric.
Yeah.
I read a comment on one of the, I don't know if it was the Unplugged video or something else, but it was somebody that said that their wife grew up and knew Nirvana. He said they were at a party and Kurt was sitting in the corner, and I don't know how, who knows if this is true or not.
Right.
But they, Kurt was just sitting there, and like they were like, hey, like, why don't you be happy? And he like responded like, I don't know how to be. Mm-hmm. And and then it's like, I'm not like you, easily amused. I wish I was like you, easily amused in that situation at a party or whatever. And who knows if it's true? Who knows if it's true? But it's kind of interesting to feel that he probably felt that maybe a lot, and we can kind of get into those ruts where why do I have to try so hard to be happy in a way?
Yeah,
like, why do I have to try so hard to be
exactly.
content with what I have? Like, I have a lot of good stuff. Like, how am I in this headspace or something like that? And
yeah, and the constant battle, I think, to put yourself out there as somebody who's like, I guess, like happy or like having a good time or with it, and like, if the absence of that genuine feeling is there, if there's an absence of that feeling, you have a choice whether you just operate without it or you just give off, you lie. And it kind of goes back, an earlier Nirvana lyric, the sun is gone but I have a light. I always think about these lyrics in tandem, because it's like you don't have the real thing, so you can put it on and you can lie about it. And that's a hard thing to do, and if with this lyric, if what does it for everybody else doesn't do it for you, that can be a tough spot to be in. And this is the song I always think about when I think about Kurt's writing and why I appreciate it so much. And at the end, the repetition, and it's funny, it's kind of a callback to Blue and the style that Blue is written, just over and over and over again. All in all is all we are. And I've always appreciated that one. And for the longest time, I had no idea what he was saying. When I first started listening to this song, I thought he was saying our love is all we are. I learned that that's not what he was saying. So I can only imagine how difficult it must have been without the internet to decipher at certain points. But yeah, I just I appreciate this one. And speaking of the performances, I always think about the unplugged version, the unplugged performance for this one. And I think there were more than a couple of news agencies that when they did pieces on Kurt's death, they used bits of the unplugged All Apologies. So I think it was those experiences that kind of make this song always tied to Kurt's mortality and his death. And it's one of the songs that I usually go to remember him by.
Yeah, that's a good point. Good closing statement.
Yeah, I have a couple more things that I want to talk about with the studio version. We just need to appreciate the fact that there is in fact a cello on the studio version. It was Absolutely. Funny, just like I said, listen to these three songs back to back to back. Imagine the band in 1989 being like, this song needs a cello on Bleach, and it just kind of a hallmark for how far the band has come. The fact that they have the budget to get somebody with a cello coming in, and the fact that it fits a song at this time, and kind of speaking to the fact that I'm really glad that this song waited until In Utero to rear its head, because I just think it would have been out of place with everything else. And it's always funny when people talk about In Utero, they're like, it was a return to the band wanting to sound underground, and they didn't want to make another Nevermind, they wanted to make another Bleach. But it's kind of one of those things. Listen to these, when you make a Nevermind, you can never go back to making a Bleach. You know, you just can't, like, there's just something about that. Like, you grow up and you know, those days are gone, and
Innocence and time.
yeah, it's just like an impossible, you know, you can easily return to the past, but no one is there type thing. I mean, it's just, you can't get back to that space. And, you know, this certainly, I think this album, it's funny, I always thought that this one sounded more like In Utero, or the In Utero sounded more like Bleach than Nevermind. But honestly, after listening to these back to back to back, and obviously we're cherry picking a couple of, like, a song from each, but this sounds like a band that had just made Nevermind, not a band that was trying to, you know, recreate the Bleach sound. And it's interesting because people always talk about, like, oh, this song was made so that, you know, the casual Nirvana, or this album was made so that the casual Nirvana fan would hate it. But I can clearly see the connection between Nevermind and In Utero, and you know, you can hear it on All Apologies. You can hear it throughout the record, but really interesting. I mean, like I said, In Utero is always going to be my favorite Nirvana album.
It's a very, very complete album. It probably, I think I also would say that it's my favorite one, and but it is nice to it's always nice to revisit, and you always surprise yourself when you get into it. I mean, we've done this with other bands and other albums where we said this is our favorite, but then we start listening to other, it's like, oh, this one has a lot more to it. So never know where our Nirvana journey will go, but at this moment, I'm very appreciative for these three songs and the performances they have of them. I think, like, my main takeaways, I think, you know, the main takeaways from this exercise that we did is, you know, how much they changed in the 3 years, how much they stayed the same, what kind of songwriter Kurt was, and these these hooks and melodies were all so good, and but they really are a powerhouse together on stage, and I think that's where their songs make the most sense to me, when it's just, you know, when it's unplugged, you know, or unplugged or live and loud. Like, those are honestly the perfect like show names for them: live and loud and unplugged. And that's Nirvana. Like,
yep,
live
you're totally
and loud
right.
shit.
And it's funny, and I think the same reasons why they were so successful on the radio is exactly what made them so captivating live, because there's just something about these songs, and particularly the choruses. I mean, even on All Apologies, you know, In the Sun I Feel is one, they just draw you in, and they kind of captivate you, you know, whether you're hearing them on the radio or whether you're in the pit listening to them, you know, right up there on stage. And you know, they had that skill that was so transferable across, you know, every single medium that you could consume them, and you could listen to their music. And I think that's what made them special. You know, their music was presented in such a way that, it would just draw you in and kind of make you connect with it, you know, if you gave it an open shot. So it's really, really cool. And it's funny, you know, in terms of this podcast, we did, you know, album reviews, or you know, song by songs of Nevermind and In Utero. We haven't done it for Bleach. Maybe we'll have to do that at some point and complete it, and then maybe we'll get into the bonus. We'll go Incesticide as well, get the B-sides. But it's good. It's always I always appreciate doing episodes on Nirvana because of the fact that I don't love Nirvana, and it kind of, you know, forces you to listen to them. But it also, you know, when you can get into an open mind, you know, open state of mind, you appreciate them more.
Oh yeah, I think I agree. It's like an assignment that you go into, and you don't think you can learn anything, and then you learn a lot along the way. And I think the evolution of their, like, cleanliness in the way they because they kept their chaos, but they, like, learned to harness it throughout the years, and I think that that's, you know, a beautiful thing that I was just thinking I wanted to say. Like, I feel like that's a great way. They just figured it out by the end. For Nevermind and for
like they had
those two were so good.
Yep, they had the chaos, but they were able to, you know, just get it calm enough that it could be accessible to millions and millions of people.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, that's good.
3 songs, 3 albums. We just entered we just entered and exited the Nirvana zone. Feels
Yeah,
good.
that was good. We spent like 40 minutes in the Nirvana zone, and that's nowhere else I wanted to be this morning. So we hope there's nowhere else you wanted to be, whenever you're listening to this. And if you are, we're appreciative of that fact. We would also be very appreciative if you would get into the subscription, the like, the comment, or the Patreon support zone. And also shows how fucking bad I am at this. Ethan, I'm wearing a Grunge Bible crew neck sweatshirt right now, and I need to be voted off of this show for not mentioning that at the top of the show. I mean, I missed the prime marketing opportunity. By now probably 30-40% of the people listening have shoved off.
Right.
But if you're here and if you want to steal my look, it's not expensive.
Do a fit check. What about the hat?
This hat is a Boston Bruins. This logo is referred to by many fans as the meth bear, just because the bear looks like he's on meth. So you could steal my look. Grunge Bible crew neck sweatshirt, like $25. Meth bear Bruins hat, $30. I mean, for with shipping and handling, I mean, for $65, you could steal my look. But that is the serpentine way of saying, if you would also like to support us, and get some merchandise to wear to your next, formal dinner or wake, you can go ahead and hit up that link in the show notes to our store. There's many ways to support us, and we are grateful for any way that you choose. So we would also like to thank Drew McFadden for producing this 97th episode of the Grunge Bible podcast.
Yeah, luckily he usually downloads it on Sunday anyway, so we're not really getting it to him any later than usual.
Exactly, it's going to be right on time.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, it'll be perfect. So of course he'll probably tell us that he wanted to do this one Wednesday or something.
Yeah, just this one.
But we all know. But no, we are super thankful for him because he's going to do an awesome job, and we're going to have this awesome episode on the Monday. So yeah. It's good stuff.
Good stuff. That is really good stuff. Well, I think that only leaves one more exercise. We're getting a lot of exercise today.
We're just getting going.
Many exercises. Yeah, song of the week. This is the point of the episode where we choose a song that we want you to listen to.
This is where we pick something because you guys like recommendations. You like hearing stuff that we like, so we made a playlist.
Songs that we like.
Songs that we like. That's what we should. Yeah, songs that we like. So I'll go first.
Songs of note, some could say.
I'll go first.
Yeah, good, because I have no idea what I want to choose.
So tonight, this is Saturday. Tonight I'm going to a concert.
Yeah, you have an easy one to pick.
I have an easy. Yep, I know. I have a few though. There's actually a few that I had this past week that kind of came up. But I'm pivoting because this is important. I'm going tonight to see Death Cab for Cutie.
Yep.
And I'm not sure how much time you've spent with the band, but back when I was like between 13 and 17 was when all this stuff was coming out. And I really did listen to a lot of their albums, listen to Plans, and like this. It was just such a calming library to listen to. I don't know, when I was younger, like I felt like it was one of those bands that I just felt like I was like really deep in my thoughts. Like I felt like emotional and stuff. So I'm going to go with off the 2005 album Plans, I Will Follow You Into the Dark. First song that, it's one of the bigger ones all time, but like when it came out, it was so good. It was just such a beautiful, beautiful song, and I was there when it came out and when it happened, and it just,
you were there when it happened.
Yeah, it was just the first one that sucked me in, and I'm just like so happy for it. So it's just a classic that I need to put on there. So go listen to that. A lot of people do covers of it and stuff. It's pretty popular.
That's awesome.
So yeah, beautiful song.
That's good. Yeah, I missed the boat. I wasn't plugged into that world at the time. So I retroactively need to go back, and it's funny because Death Cab is, that band is a large influence on a lot of musicians that I like. It's one of those bits of music that musicians
like the
music.
Pixies, Built to Spill, these bands. They're the musicians' bands. Yeah,
exactly. It's like, oh, like this is the influence, you know.
like these are the guys you need to listen to. Like,
yeah, exactly. It's like Buffalo Tom. Yeah. Which, by the way, we have to mention after we talked about Buffalo Tom, Ethan, you posted Buffalo Tom, and Bill Janovitz commented on our Instagram post. You posted, it a Letterman clip?
Yeah, or Conan. I think it was Conan.
Yeah, it was one of the late night shows from the 90s, and Bill Janovitz commented, and he's like, we needed to have an intervention for my hairstyle. That's amazing.
It's so funny that it's so funny. I just want to know, like, when someone posts like his work, you know, and he sees it, like,
I wonder what feelings you have.
Yeah, like when you see someone else post it, I don't know. It is funny. So,
dude, that would suck to be a public figure.
Yeah, I think so too, man.
Yeah,
that's why Buffalo Tom is perfect. That's why they have a place.
You're right in the happy zone.
He only has 4,000 followers. Basically, only 4,000 people that know Bill Janovitz.
We have 100 times his followers. Oh man, we don't deserve that.
No. All right. Wow. Anyway, your song, Chris.
My song, yeah, I've decided long enough, and you picked a song that was kind of a current event for you, and I think it was last week's episode that I almost fell off. Yeah, I almost fell off the rails last week because right when we were preparing to record, Boy Genius dropped 3 songs from their forthcoming album, and I explained to you after, but during the episode last week, I pre-ordered the record like while we were recording it.
Yeah,
it goes to show how good at multitasking I am. Nobody knew, but I'm gonna pick one of the songs from the forthcoming Boy Genius album, and I'll pick. It was the final song of the trio they released. It's called True Blue. Lucy Dacus wrote this one. I'm positive, and yeah, I like it. I'm just excited for that. The first full length album from Boy Genius. So I'm really looking forward to that. And it stinks too. Like as soon as like they announced that the album was coming out and that they were going to tour it, my first thought was like, this is going to be a really expensive ticket.
Yeah, for sure.
I have to see it. Like, if they come to, I'm sure they'll come to the Boston metro area. I have to see them.
How much are you willing to pay?
Oh, fuck, dude. Like, honestly, like,
$200.
What's that?
$200.
I would pay $250. Yeah, I'd pay $250. I'd pay $250 to go see Boy Genius. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Would. Well, it's funny. I mean, I say this now, but like my concert lineup for 2023 is looking a little bit leaner than 2022. I mean, I saw like 20 something shows in 22.
I mean, we aren't even out of the first month, Chris.
But that's the thing. And I didn't start until March last year.
We have no idea. Yeah.
Fuck, you're right. Forgive
Literally
them, Father,
no one
for they
knows.
know not what they say.
That's so funny. Yeah, I'm looking a little light this year.
Well, I already have. Yeah, I'm full of shit. I have 3. I have tickets to. Well, I'm going to 3 already. I'm seeing Bruce Springsteen in a couple of weeks in Kansas City, Missouri.
That's crazy.
Yeah, I'm going to visit one of my buddies who spends time out there in the winter, and I was not going to spend
spends
$2,000
time in there in the winter.
What's that?
What? You said he spends time in Missouri in the winter. What does that mean?
So he's an athletic trainer for a professional baseball team. So
Okay.
during the winter time, I mean, they're not playing. There's not guys at the facility, so that's what.
You spend some time there in the winter. I love that. Like Missouri.
Man. Yeah, I want to start spending. I want to start wintering in like Akron, Ohio, or something.
Not Ohio, no.
Yeah, fuck Ohio.
But that is good. I did listen to the first. I listened to the songs as well.
I love them. I love them. So.
Oh yeah. They definitely I was thinking about too. Like, yeah. I mean this like the sum of the parts, and like they have all their own projects. I was thinking of like BOCC, the Better Oblivion community.
Yeah, with Connor Oberst.
And I would love to see that project live and stuff.
Yeah.
And there's just no opportunities. And I feel like this one's gonna be pretty special. So I can see the excitement behind it. The lyrics are pretty good. Well, I can't remember which song what it was, but it was like I had to fuck around to find out who I am.
Yeah, that's True Blue. Yeah.
Okay, that was in True Blue. Yeah, I had to fuck around to find out who I am or something. And I was like, that's just like appropriate. It's funny. It's
yeah,
good.
yeah.
And,
It is. It's got some good humor to it. So, yeah, man, I'm gonna spend money on that, and it's gonna be great. So
it's money well spent.
Exactly. It's just like
let's shout out.
What
I do want to
said.
I want to shout out to Petey. Did you see his most recent video?
I haven't watched it yet. No.
Square It Up. You haven't seen it? Square It Up.
I haven't seen it.
Dude, all right. When we get off camera, you're gonna watch it, and we'll fit a laugh together because it's really fun.
Yeah.
Shout out to Petey. We're gonna have him on soon.
Yeah, we need to.
All right, man. Well,
yeah, I think I'm gonna go make some pancakes. It's Saturday. It's the weekend, so.
Yep,
I'm gonna go on the weekends.
Make some more coffee. So.
Oh yeah.
All right, everybody. Thank you again for listening. Have a great week. Be safe. Listen to your grunge and try to get into the Nirvana zone a little bit. See what happens. Join us.
All right, everyone. See you.
See you next week, guys. Peace.
Rock and roll.